And we're going to make a hard construction slab box, and we're going to start by creating a template. And I'm going to create a template by just choosing a photo in the newspaper that is at least one of the dimensions of the photo are the dimensions of the box size that I want. So I'm going to start with this photo. This is my plastic template, and to get another template like that, what I'm going to do is just fold this photo like that and make sure that the crease is, nice and straight. And then I'm going to just cut it on that crease. So that's going to be the bottom and the top, and it can also be the side walls if it's rectangular. If it's square, then say this is square, it's pretty square. I could use that for the bottom and the top, and then I could just fold that in half like this, and that could become the four sides. So either way, it's easy to create a template out of a piece of newsprint. So if this one is for a rectangular box, then I would use the same one for the sides. If I wanted them to be a little shorter, I can always fold it down like that and cut two like this. And then I need to cut two like this for the ends here. So for my plastic template, I'm going to cut this 4 times for the bottom, the top, and the two sides, the two long sides. And then I'm going to cut this twice for the two short sides. So get out your pin tool. If you happen to have an X-Acto blade, that's even better. I do like using my potter's knife, which is like an X-Acto blade for this. Now, everybody just puts that down and starts cutting, and that's really not the best way to go. The best way to go is to draw around your template first, so you can piece them all out on your clay. So I'm just going to draw. And here's where, like for the YouTube video, I wish I could go and fast forward for you. So there's my bottom and my top. And I don't quite have room for the side walls in here. So I'm going to move on to this other slab. And this slab is not quite as dry as I'd like it to be. I really like them to be, feeling like a piece of cheddar cheese, not wobbly. But we will use what we have here. Our slabs didn't dry out. We probably should have put 2 pieces of newspaper in between each one rather than 1 piece of newspaper when we were letting them dry from last week, because they stayed a little more moist than I thought they were going to stay. So we're smoothing out the texture, and then we need to cut out some more shapes. So again, we're going to just draw them first. And to maximize how many I can put, do you notice that I share one line here? And that means that I have to cut less also. If you draw them out where there's space between all of them, you're going to have to cut more. So now I have 2 bottom, top, wall, wall. I need 2 more walls. And again, I'm going to line them right up next to the existing ones so that I don't have to cut as many lines. And this line should be a little straighter. Now that that's there, ideally, if you want to put a ruler down to cut, I have a pretty good eye, so I can cut fairly straight, but if you want to put a ruler down so that you cut really, really straight, that would be great. I will give you a tip. If you always cut towards yourself rather than away from yourself or sideways, you will cut straighter. So if I turn this and cut towards myself, I have a better chance of cutting straighter. When you're cutting with your pin tool, if you lay your pin tool down a little bit, Don't keep it straight up, but lay it down a bit like this. You will cut a straighter line. Okay, let's cut these out. And again, I'm going to do this pretty quickly because all of my pieces are lined up right next to each other. It makes for less cut lines. And put your spare clay aside. Even these small scraps like this will become useful later on. So I always keep, probably not these so much, but definitely this and this has some good useful bits to it that we will use later to make the lid fit on nice and tight. Okay, so now we have 6 parts. I did cut through this, but it's stuck back together. We have 6 parts. So we have a bottom, a top, and 4 walls. I'm going to use one of this. These are slightly softer, and I'm going to use one of those as the bottom and one of the walls, and try to save one of the firmer ones for the lid. Okay, so to get the walls on the piece, we're going to need to score and slip. Will you get me a little bottle of water, just a little container from the sink? I'm going to use my scoring tool to make this go faster, and I'm going to start out by scoring all the way around. And just keep in mind the thickness of your clay and score about that wide of a line all the way around. Then comes our first wall piece. And this one has a little bit of damage right here. So I'm going to engineer this so I'll be able to cut off that damage. All right, we have a little container of water. And I'm going to use a brush. When you dab the water into these lines, remember, just dab it in. You want to flood the lines, but not, you don't want to smear them closed. All right, so I'm going to just do the edge of this clay and stick that right on there. And remember, the wall sits on top of the floor, not to the side of it, but on top of it. It's nice to have a paddle nearby so that you can compress that into the floor, just like that. All right, now we're going to do a wall, and I showed you 2 patterns that we could do the wall. One pattern is that you do 2 long walls and then you cut this piece to fit in between. But I like the dovetail better, so I cut off one edge of each one of the existing walls. How much do I cut off? Well, let's put this wall here. Let's see which way it goes. It might be a little tall. We're going to put it right there, and you can get in close on that. And then I'm going to turn it around so you can see the inside, and I'm going to draw a line where that wall is, so you can all see that line. And then I'm going to cut that off. So again, and I'm going to try to cut straight up and down. Now, if you don't feel like you can cut very straight, a credit card is a great thing, or a gift card. Just set that in there and use that as a guide, and that will make a really nice straight line for you. And then you can cut off that bit. So now that piece that was a little bit torn is no longer a problem. And I'm going to fit this one right here. So this will need to be scored on this edge, and this will need to get scored in 2 places, on the bottom and on the face of it right here. And we're going to add water to this edge. I usually only wet one piece, not both, so this doesn't need to be wet. So I'm going to just tuck that right in there, like that, and press it downward into the floor and compress it into the existing wall that was already in place. And you will notice when you do this that a little bit of clay squishes out right here, and that's just fine. Make sure that you line that up as well as you can. Later on we'll clean that up so it looks nice and smooth, but for now, if you get that little bit of squished clay out in the corners, that's fine. You can even take a paintbrush and swipe in the corners like this to paint that little squish of clay in and really seal that corner well. We're going to do the same thing now for the next wall. We're going to take the wall, and leave a firm one here. We're going to place it there in place temporarily, and then draw a line on the inside where that wall impacts the existing wall. This is going to stay pretty firm now. Because I've got two walls that form a right angle, this is like stable. It's not going to be wobbly now. Which is why I like this method very much, where I go wall by wall by wall and work my way around, as opposed to putting two side walls and then trying to fit the two end walls. That's more wobbly, and so I have a little harder time with that. Again, I'm going to use the credit card in there, just rest it to maybe draw that line a little bit straighter before I cut it. And take that away. Don't cut into your floor. Then we're going to need to score this edge and two places on the existing, on the new wall that goes in. The new wall always gets two until the last one, which gets three. So we'll do the bottom edge, and then we'll do the face of it. It's going to go to the inside. We will add a little bit of water, dab it in there, and then we'll put that in place. So we're creating that dovetail pattern. Don't forget that not only does scoring and slip join the clay, but there needs to be some amount of compression to really join two pieces of clay together. So paddling it both downward into the floor and on the side into the existing wall really assures that those are not going to come apart during the drying process. Now we're up to the last wall, and we need to cut away part of the one that we just put on there. So I'm going to put that credit card in there and draw a line about the thickness of this clay, and we'll cut that away. And I don't know if you can see past my hand. I will try to cut with my left hand so that you can. And we'll remove that. So now this wall is shorter than this wall, our first wall. And we're going to score two places now. We're going to score this edge, and we're going to score the inner face of our first wall. And we'll wet those up with a little bit of water. And then the piece of clay that we're going to be adding will hang out over the edge of the clay, and we'll cut that off. We'll trim that off after we get it in place. So this needs three places where you score. The bottom, the edge, one this side, and the face of it a little bit further in this time, because we're going to cut off that, trim off that edge. And then we're going to fit it right in there. And if you guys need to stand up to see this, please feel free. So now you can see the dovetail where this comes to here, and then this one starts on the end and goes to here, and then this one starts on the end and it goes to here, and then this one starts on the end and goes to here. So you can see how those dovetail together. Let's compress the last wall in, first to the floor, then to the existing wall, and also to the first wall. So this one gets 3 compressions. And then we're going to trim off that little extra fin that's hanging off over the edge. So we're just going to run the pin tool down the side and trim that off. So now we have a pretty nice looking box, and we need to create a lid for it. So why don't you stop the video